And now, live from the Whispers Estate in Mitchell, Indiana, where the walls really do talk, introducing your host, Rich Ballard.
Hello, everyone. Having lots of trouble for our technical side of things. Brad, my buddy here, helping me out tonight. We have not did a podcast. It's been over 2 years. Lots of apologies. We were promising one a month, but life happens, and in the greater scheme of things, we just got so caught up in so many other things in our lives right now that we are going to do our best to resume these and do our very, very best to do at least one a month if we can. Kind of committed to making that happen right now. So this was kind of all last minute. Brad and I, as educators, are on fall break this week, and we basically decided to try to do one tonight. Our learning curve return, because like I said earlier, we have not done one of these in a long, long time. But Brad is a pretty smart guy, and he worked feverishly to get this ready. So we said approximately about 9 o'clock, and I'm guessing it's a little bit after 9. So as people continue to join up, welcome to the Whispers Estate podcast. I think this is podcast number 6. My name is Rich Ballard. I am the current owner of the Whispers Estate. My buddy with me right here, Brad Martin, my partner in crime. Brad has done so much for the house since I bought it. I can't even begin to elaborate on all of his contributions to the house, mostly just volunteering his own time to make Whispers a better place. We're pretty excited about tonight. I've been trying to make this happen for a long time now. A really good friend of mine, Kim Kinser, has promised to join us via, I don't know, I guess it depends on what part of the state you're from, telephone. We're going to have her call in, and Kim and I go way back. She visited the house with her husband, Tom, about 4 years ago, and she and I decided to do some investigating together, and we've been to, oh my goodness, probably over a dozen places together, and Kim is just one of these amazing people that is committed to this endeavor of trying to seek and find the truth when it comes to paranormal investigations. Kim is an author. She has a couple books published under pseudonym. She doesn't go, her author's name is not Kim Kinser, but I think she's okay with me using her real name here tonight. If you don't know anything about the Whispers Estate, it's here in Mitchell, Indiana, just about 35 minutes south of Bloomington, depending on how fast you drive. It's here in Mitchell, Indiana. Whispers Estate is one of those places that thousands of people visited over the years, and here we are. I've owned the house for going on 5 years now. It's hard to believe it's been that long, and since I've owned the house, several thousand people visited. It's one of those places that when people visit, even if they have kind of a slow night in regards to activity, they seem to be very, very affected by the house. The house seems to have a particular feel to it, a particular draw to it. Many people just come back repeatedly. I got so many friends I've made over the last several years, and going to try to get a bunch of those people on our podcast here as we move forward, hopefully about once a month. I know I want to get Lisa Potts, who's visited the house repeatedly, some other people, that come to mind. But with that said, a couple things about the podcast. We are going to do our best to let people call in and ask Kim some questions, or ask Brad or myself some questions after Kim kind of goes through her little interview with us. And I do have a couple rules about calling in. We'll share the number here with you in a second. But one, we don't talk about politics here at the Whispers Estate. We live in such troubled times that politics, I think, and ghost chasing and the paranormal just aren't a good mix. If you want to talk politics, you can talk to me privately or Brad privately, and we will share our political views. But I would ask that we leave any type of discussion of politics out. And of course, I ask that you remain respectful to our guest. If you want to ask him some questions tonight, you would remain respectful in any questions you would ask her. And please, folks, no profanity. Believe it or not, young people watch these, and I just think we need an environment here where everyone feels comfortable, regardless of your beliefs and your belief systems. I want people to be able to listen to these podcasts, and if you have an interest in it, maybe learn something or maybe teach us something, because I teach a parapsychology class, and I tell my students the more I do this, probably the less I know. So I think right now we're going to try our best to reach out to Kim. Kim's going to give us a call here, and hopefully in technical terms you'll be able to hear okay. I hear the phone right there. That's nice and loud. Okay. We'll mute that for a second until we can. Okay. That didn't work very well. There it is. I got it. Okay.
You won't be able to hear.
And we are waiting for her to pick up.
Your call has been forwarded to voicemail. The person you're trying to reach is not available.
Not available? Okay, so Kim, she told me she had to take her dogs out, so we'll give her another second here in that sense. I'll go back to the Whispers Estate real quickly while we're trying to connect with Kim. One thing, if you have an interest in Whispers Estate, if you've never visited, I would ask you to go to our website, www.whispersestate.com, and if you would like to visit the house, just heard some footsteps back there in the hallway as we're doing this. Just go to the website, and you'll see, or if you're on a computer, you'll see right in the middle of the screen, there's the phone again, you'll see right in the middle of the screen something that says make reservations. You just click on that, and it will take you to two calendars. One of the calendars is a Sunday through Thursday calendar, and the other calendar is a Friday and Saturday calendar. So if you're wanting to come on the weekend, obviously you click on the Friday and Saturday calendar. And with that said, if you're wanting to book the house and you're on a telephone, there is these little squiggly lines up at the top, and you just drag down on those, and you'll see where it says reservations. We got all kinds of guest submitted evidence there, some previous podcasts that have been posted from the house. Like I said, it's been a little bit over 2 years since the last time we did a podcast, which is, on my end, someone who's committed to doing this several years ago. It's kind of embarrassing, but once again, I'm not going to make any excuses. Life happens, and we're just all get very busy, and the technical side of doing this live it's much more elaborate and out of my wheelhouse of skills. That's one reason Brad here steps up and helps me out so admirably, and we're able to do that. I'll go ahead and share the number if you want to call in and ask Kim a question. When we get to the question and answer thing, Kim will probably be with us for about 15 minutes. And then I have possibly some second guests. They're going to call us from Western Michigan, two young ladies who have visited the house, oh my goodness, 7-8 times. And as a matter of fact, they booked the house this coming Halloween, and I know they're very excited about being in the house on Halloween. So hopefully we'll be able to connect with them, and they will also be willing to talk about their experiences here at the Whispers Estate, and certainly other locations. we just don't focus entirely on the Whispers Estate. Our goal is to get people as much information as we can possibly give them. Okay, in that sense. And I think we're trying to reach out to Kim again. Am I right? So we'll see if we can get a hold of her here. Please bear with us, as she was ready to talk with us at 9 o'clock, and unfortunately we were about 15-20 minutes shy of that. And I know she has some dogs that she's got to take special care of, so on her end I know she does her best with those dogs. We are also, this is the first time I've shared this with anyone, we are going to try to do something that we've never done at the Whispers Estate.
This will be fun.
It's something called the Doctor's Quarantine Challenge. And what my vision is for that, of course, is people are going to buy $10 tickets. It's kind of like a raffle. And we'll have those for sale on our website and probably on Facebook as well. And if you buy a ticket, you will go into the hat, or the box, if you will. And then at that point, we will wait probably at least a month to get as many people, because I've had several hundred people say they'd be interested in taking this on. And then if your ticket number is drawn, you will be the winner of the Doctor's Quarantine Challenge. And of course, what we will do with that is, the challenge is simply this. You will come to the house. You will be expected to stay in the house from 10 o'clock at night to 4 o'clock in the morning by yourself. We will equip you with a couple of flashlights and a walkie-talkie, and then we'll have a control center out in our garage with a couple of computer cameras out there, so we can kind of keep an eye on things. And then you'll be expected to spend 6 hours in the house on your own. So
Maybe we can live stream it.
yeah, and the plan, of course, would be to live stream it, and we will have cameras in the house at that point, which we will with the cameras in the house, we will be able to make sure whoever wins the challenge, that they don't hunker down and try to fall asleep in one area of the house. And just, our goal is to have them spend 15, 20, 30 minutes in each area of the house. And the person who successfully navigates through the Doctor's Challenge, that 6-hour challenge, we will give them $300 as a cash reward for their commitment and their ability to do that. And I know, like I said, I've shared this with numerous guests, several hundred, and probably have over 100 people that said they would jump at the bit and do their very best to do that. So that will be coming up. We'll probably start posting information about that probably towards the end of this month. If I'm not mistaken, our goal will be able to do that probably sometime in early December. We'll grab a night. I'm guessing it will probably be a Sunday night, is what we initially had planned to do it on a Sunday night. And from that point on, we will draw the name. And we don't, none of us have a dog in the hunt, if you will, on our end. We don't really care whose name is drawn. We won't practice any cronyism or any favoritism. We will just draw the ticket, and if it's your ticket, you'll get the opportunity to come in, enact the challenge, and hopefully you'll be able to make it 6 hours in the house, which I'm sure, if you're willing to take that on, you'll probably be able to successfully do that. Have we tried to call her back yet, buddy?
I texted her.
Okay.
I'm just waiting to see.
Okay.
I have no idea. We can try again.
Yeah, let's give her another call, because once again, Kim lives north of us, about a couple hours north of us, and who knows exactly what we're going through with her in her case, or her ability to hook up and pick up her phone. So, like I said, the learning curve here. The last one we did a couple years ago, we actually had ironed out most of our. Yeah, we're still getting voicemail. We had been able to navigate through most of our shortcomings, and let me call her. Brad, she might not recognize your phone. Yes, she's on my phone. Hey, Kim, can you pick up Brad's call? He's trying to call you on his phone, okay? He'll call you right now, okay? Thank you. Okay, so in all fairness to Kim, she didn't recognize that number, and I can understand why she probably wasn't.
Hello.
Hey, Kim, how are you doing?
Good. How are you doing?
It's so good to hear your voice and that nice, sweet Southern accent that you always bring to the investigations that I do with you. I've got Brad Martin here. I think you know Brad, don't you?
Of course.
You're not picking up my phone call?
I know. I got spam caller on my phone.
Oh, so
You
I'm
know,
spam.
You're spam now because I hadn't seen you in such a long
I
time.
know. Well, that's not my fault.
That
You
was
go to Denver too much.
Yeah, that was entirely my fault. I apologize for that. I told Kim that we'd call her, and I probably didn't share with her we'd call her on Brad's phone because his phone Bluetooths too.
Nah, it's fine. I'm just messing with you.
Okay, so how are you doing? It's so good to hear from you. I haven't talked to you. It's been a few weeks. I know you and I back in the spring were able to do an investigation together, and we had a um, very interesting night together, which we typically do. We don't always do, but that was one of those nights that I think at a couple of points you and I were looking at each other saying, why are we even doing this, right?
Yeah, the Monroe House.
Yeah, that was a lot of fun. And I've been there about 5 times. I've never experienced...
Only 5.
Yeah.
Only 5 times.
Although it's a great place to visit, I've never been there where something cool didn't happen. But I will tell you, at about 1 o'clock in the morning, we were here knocking on that wall and those big booms. You and I were looking at each other like maybe it's time to get out of here. But we powered through and made it for about another couple hours, and it did quieten down a little bit finally. Kim, for all of our listeners tonight, I know a lot of people... when they visit the house, I reference you because you and I have did so many duo investigations. We've been to so many places. But, you know, I typically ask anyone that's on a podcast with me usually the same questions, okay? And if you wouldn't mind, I'll just shoot through these generalized questions, and you can answer them at your own leisure. None of them are too interpersonal or anything. I guess the first question I like to ask everyone is, can you remember when you became interested in the paranormal? Like, did you have an experience, a personal experience that drew you to it? Or is it just something you just came to kind of organically and decided that's something I'd like to pursue? Can you remember when you became first interested in the paranormal?
I remember being around 8 years old. And, of course, you can tell I'm from the South. And I would go walk in nature by myself, and I would sit on this hill, and I would say to myself, I'd look up at the sky and see the clouds and just like try to put my energy towards something that was bigger than myself. And I'm not saying that God's not real. I'm not getting religious of any sort because I'm very spiritual. But I remember sitting on this hill thinking, something else has to be out there. And that's when I started putting my energy into trying to find different answers to how or maybe how I could communicate to the unknown or things that maybe we didn't have answers for, to where I could have answers and feel comfortable with living here on Earth. Because not to get too wrapped into like spirituality, but I don't want to vibrate on a low level. So I was always looking for any kind of energy to where I could vibrate on a higher level. And then as I got older and I had time to really put the energy into learning and really experiencing what I was seeking, I was able to get involved in ghost hunting.
Yeah, I know on my end, and my experiences with you, from almost the very beginning when you first visited the house with Tom, I knew that you were someone who had already had some experiences, you know, and I know you were pretty closed off. I don't think you want to share too much personal information with someone you just met, but we became friends, and some of the things you've shared with me, it's just, you know, you've had some profound experiences, and your connection is something that, you know, I personally, I've never had that kind of connection, so I was always impressed with your ability to surmise the situation and assess it pretty objectively, I know you know, like Brad sitting here beside me, one reason that I enjoy investigating with you and Brad and a handful of other people, Brad's wife Michelle, my friend Kim Reed, Sandra, our house manager. There's a handful of people that I've investigated with that, you know, I think our first instinct is to naturally jump to, can I debunk this? Is there something that's natural that we can explain this away? We're not necessarily dealing with some kind of spirit or something. And I think that's one of the things I was impressed with you right off the bat the first time you and I went somewhere together. You was much quicker than I was to try to assess, okay, what is that, and can I explain it rationally? And then obviously some of these things you can't explain rationally, and I think that's what hooks us all in on that.
And I think too, also, we're all looking for something, right? There has to be something out there. And when you can debunk it or not debunk it and it's real, that gives you a different sense of purpose of life, to saying, we're not the only things here. There has to be something else out there. And when you see it and feel it and experience it, then you know that it's not a lie. It can't be.
Right.
There's things that are just totally unexplained.
I know that in my journey, I feel like that this gives me more faith towards Christianity and stuff like that, because it's I don't know if it's necessarily the evil side, but it's definitely spiritual, and that's kind of like proof. I mean, how often do people have the chance to see that?
Right. Exactly.
Yeah, it's somewhat of a confirmation on people who have spirituality, like you said earlier. Okay, so Kim, the second question I like to ask people is how did you hear about the Whispers Estate? When was the first time you'd heard about it? What gave you the motivation? You and your husband Tom, and I think his mother and father came with you that first time. Am I right?
It was our friends. I have an older couple friends.
Okay.
I'm not saying that old is bad, okay?
I hope not. On my end, I hope not.
Rich or old?
I just
I'm
turned
just
40.
playing.
I just turned 45, and I just look in the mirror and I can't believe it's went that fast. But,
Oh, wow. You looking good, baby.
thank you. Thank you. In all seriousness, so how did you first hear about the Whispers Estate? Do you remember when you made up your mind, it's a place I would like to come and visit?
Yeah, totally. I mean, I remember it like it was yesterday. Once I was able to have the time and the money to put into getting my equipment and being able to take the time to go on these ghost hunts, I had a friend, she goes, hey, have you not heard of this place down south? I'm like, what are you talking about down south? She goes, this place called Whispers Estate. You got to go to this place. And I said, let me Google it. And at that time, I called you, like immediately. I said, I got to come and stay here. And you're like, well, you can't stay. I'm like, what? I can't stay? Okay, I'm coming anyway. And that's when I began talking to you, and I booked my first trip there.
Right, and I remember your first visit was somewhat eventful. I remember, and you and I had exchanged phone numbers. I think I even got Tom's number at the time, but Tom doesn't seem to have quite as much interest in it as you do. He's a big, strong guy, but even then, it looked like it little unnerved him a little bit. Maybe I misread that about him, but it seemed like he didn't.
But it's word on the street.
Right.
Like if you hear haunted house, Whispers Estate is like the first thing everybody talks about.
Yeah, that's good to hear. There's so many great places to visit, and that kind of takes me to my next question. I mean, you and I need to compile a list of the places we've been. We've been all the way out to Rhode Island, to the Pierce Mansion, the Gardner Mansion, the Conjuring House together. Let me see, the Bel Air. We've been to
the Sally House.
The Sally House. One of my favorite places there was Stephanie. I hope Stephanie's listening tonight, to McIntyre Villa.
The McIntyre Villa, yeah.
Such a great place. You and your sister Angie were waiting on me. You guys had already had an intense experience there, and I got there that night, and Once again, I know you have a funny story because, well, I went for a walk about 3 o'clock in the morning and locked myself out of the house and ended up sleeping in my car. And I think you still might have that video of waking me up in my car. I know you
I
got,
do have it.
I know you got.
If Brad wants a good laugh, I'll send it to Brad.
You want me to post it
Yeah.
on the website?
I see.
Yeah.
I've done so many stupid things in my life. There's probably so much stuff out there making me look somewhat like an idiot that nothing at this point, nothing really ruffles me too much. That was one of the moments that I banged on that door for, I don't know, 5 minutes, and I realized it was 3 o'clock in the morning in Atchison, Kansas, and I shouldn't be banging on a door. So I just said, okay, the girls can't hear me. You guys were all the way upstairs in that far back bedroom. So I couldn't remember the code. You'd given it to me, and I just went and slept in my car. And I think you woke me up about 8 o'clock in the morning, banging on the window, dying laughing at me. You're just, the look on your face. I knew that laugh right there made the whole trip worthwhile for that.
Oh my gosh! And of course, remember we were on Ghost Files with Hobo Hill.
Right, and the Hobo Hill House. That's something I would want to. I would like for you people to tell the story because I tell the story to some of my friends, and I know people. I would hope most people that know me know that I wouldn't lie about something. I once again, if you start faking things in this field, your credibility's gone forever. So but you and I had an experience that night. I know that your sister slept across the hall from us, and you and I at the same time heard something that night that even to this moment, I'm getting cold chills thinking about it. I still can't even process what we heard. But would you be willing to go into some detail if you can remember that better than me?
Yeah, you and I were in the upstairs twin bedroom. I don't even know what time it was. Maybe 4 in the morning we heard it. Because I don't even know when we went to bed. There was a screeching, like right in between our beds. I woke up, I looked over at you, and I didn't know if you had heard it because it's still dark. And I was like, oh my gosh, just pretend like this didn't happen. And I just laid there still, trying not to move because I thought it was going to eat me.
Yeah, that was really a really neat weekend that you and I and Angie. Well, it wasn't weekend. I believe it was during the week. I was on spring break, but from going to the McIntyre Villa to the Sally House, which down in that basement, I know we shouldn't have been down there, but we ignored the house rules and went down there. And your sister, bless her heart, was so, you could tell she was so visibly affected what was going on in that house that night. And then, to end up in the Hobo Hill House, that was just, to be in those 3 places in 3 days to this day is right at the top of my list of my experiences doing this now for about the last 11 years. That was clearly maybe just about as good as it got for me. That was just an amazing time. I know we've been to several other places together, but once again, we forget them. On my end, I did want to ask you one final question. We're going to try to open the phones up, and once again, you bear with us with our technology. I think there's some people wanting to call in. I haven't shared the number yet because I didn't want them calling in during our quick talk together. I told you I'd only keep you on here for about 20 or 25 minutes. But with that said, I always like to ask anyone that appears on one of these podcasts with me, do you have a certain event, a certain moment that sticks out in your mind that, it just seems to supersede any other thing that's ever happened to you as you're, doing this? And for those of you that's listening that do this seriously and travel, the money, the time, the effort, the exhaustion, the day after burnout you get from it. Once again, I'm never cease to be amazed by people that are so committed to doing this. And Kim, I know you're one of those people because you and I have done it together numerous times. And the efforts that we've made flying out to Rhode Island together and dealing with some people in a couple houses that just once again, it was just one of those things, spending a whole day in Salem, Massachusetts, because we really had nowhere else to go, wanting to get into that conjuring house. So, do you have that one moment that if you just had to sit down and someone just cornered you in a room, and if you don't, if there's too many to mention, maybe just mention a couple of them, but is there that one moment that you're going, oh my goodness, to the day I die, this will probably be, at least to this point, the most, significant moment in my, extensive career as someone who does this? Do you have a single event that pops up pretty easily for you?
Yeah, everybody I feel like has that one event, right? And there's so many, but the one event that stands out in my mind is when you and I were at the Bel Air house. You were downstairs on the couch, and the house lady, do you remember her
Oh,
name?
yes, I do not. I'm sorry.
Okay.
Yeah, okay.
She was giving me the tour, and you stayed downstairs because you had been there.
Right.
And she was giving me the tour, and we're walking up the steps, okay? And I was thinking some bad thoughts in my mind, and I felt like the spirit could read my mind because at that point, they scratched me. And I know everybody's like, yeah, right. Oh my gosh, you get scratched, and a lot of times people, because I've seen people fake being scratched, this spirit scratched me down the back of my leg. And I know it was because it was reading my mind.
I remember the event clearly because you came downstairs kind of troubled, and I think you let the woman, the tour guide, leave before you called it to my attention, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, because what I was thinking in my mind was a negative thought about something, and I know they were reading my mind because in my mind I was saying something to them, and at that point when I say they, I don't know who or what it was. I'll just say it. The spirit scratched me down the back of my leg. And for me, other than seeing an apparition, being that physically touched is something that you don't forget ever.
Right. And
Because sure, the spirits can turn on my flashlight or tap my cat balls or turn on, the EMF reader, or they can do all that and play little circus games. But to be physically touched and handled, that's a whole other level.
Right, and I do remember that pretty vividly, and I think it was only a couple days later that you wanted to come to the Whispers estate, and I think you and I went into the servants' quarters, and we sat on the church bench in there, and if I'm not mistaken, we had a pretty amazing occurrence happen on that bench. I think it was some kind of scratching or knocking that called both of us. I think we should have been the seasoned investigators we were, and just sat there and waited for more to happen. But if I'm not mistaken, we both jumped up and kind of threw our flashlights on, and I don't know. I think I might have screamed, but
oh yeah, that's definitely to be able to hear it physically, and then see it and to be touched by something. It's just a whole other level when you experience it in that real time. Other than just seeing them touch a cat ball. I mean, okay, I can see all that all the time, but like the church pew, to hear them going up the back of the church pew with their nails, whole other level.
Yeah,
it's a whole other level.
That's what I vividly remember. It sounded like something with very long fingernails was scratching the back of it, and
it was climbing up the back. It felt like they were clawing and climbing up the back.
Yeah, so that was an interesting weekend for you and I. But Kim, I'm going to try to see if anyone can call in. Are you okay with answering some questions and we get some live calls?
Oh yeah.
Okay, so I can't guarantee our technology is going to work. It's pretty primitive at this point because we only found out one way to Bluetooth the phone to my Rode Podcaster here. So if they do call in, they're going to be on my phone, and I'm just going to hold the phone up to a microphone. So if someone does decide to call, it's going to be very primitive. But once again, we're going to get better at this. Brad and I, we were confident 2 years ago that we had this pretty much figured out. And once again, 2 years, Brad's a little older than me, and he's gotten a little more forgetful than I have. But I think the Alzheimer's is, I'm not trying to make fun of Alzheimer's, but the dementia, the old.
Brad's getting it done.
Brad's getting it done, but
Brad's getting it done.
in all seriousness,
Brad's building REM pods.
Yeah. By the way, if you do, Brad, Kim, just hold on a second. We'll do some self promotions here. Brad, explain to everyone that's listening, if they do want a REM pod that's built, how they can get one from you.
Well, there's several ways. You can email me, or you can go on the Facebook page and email me there, or you can go on Facebook Marketplace, find it, and I sell them for $100 plus shipping. You can come to the house and buy them. Sometimes we're out of them. I think we have one left.
Yeah.
They're hard to keep in, especially at that price. So I'm kind of eating a lot of the price. I do it for you guys. I'm not doing it for me. The profit margin's very little, but I just got upset with the market overcharging for ghost tools. So I decided to help you guys out because I built them for me, and everybody said, "Hey, can you build me one? Hey, can you build me?" So I ended up being a business that basically it does bring a little profit, but just about enough to keep the business afloat. So nothing spectacular there. So $100 is a bargain. There's no temperature sensor in there, so if you're looking for that one, I'm sorry. But I am looking into putting a Bluetooth connection from the REM pod to the phone, and if that happens, you'll be able to walk out of the room and still see if it goes off, and possibly put a temperature sensor in there as well. So that's exciting. I think I can do it, but I'm just not sure. I'm a little bit worried about the battery life when doing something like that. I also want to do a shout out. My daughter Victoria and granddaughter Cassie is watching, and I just wanted to say hi, and I love you guys.
Yeah, and they're down in Florida, folks. So all the people down in Florida, let's remember those people in our prayers.
Yeah, they're in Pensacola right now because they had to flee from their Tampa river. They live in Riverview, and they're going. Hopefully, they go back and they find their house untouched. So we're praying for that.
Okay, so folks, I'm going to share the number with you. I'll say it 3 or 4 times if you have something to write it down on. I know we got quite a few people listening tonight. And once again, I only have a couple rules about call-ins. Number 1, no politics. You do not want to get Kim Kinser started on politics. You will get you will get a lesson. This lady knows her stuff, and she's well informed and well read. Number 2,
I'm just glad I'm on her side.
Number 2, I would ask that you would show Brad, Kim, and myself respect. Don't call in so you guys are a bunch of fakes, a bunch of idiots, or you're all going to burn in hell or something like that. I mean, once again, we'd ask that you show us respect if you decide to call in. And then third, because people, children and other people listen to this that might find it offensive, that we ask that you don't use any profane language. And I know, Kim, that is a stretch for you because once again,
one more thing, there might be a delay. We're not sure. So
bear with us.
So if you call in, you might want to turn down your podcast and just talk to us through the phone.
Thank you for saying that. Okay, so if you want to call in and ask Kim a question, or Brad or myself, the number to call in is area code 812-287-9936. So if you want to write that down real quickly, area code 812-287-9936, and Brad's going to hold it up. We're just going to do the old hee-haw thing here, BR549. So I don't know if you folks can see that. So if you would like to call in, that is going to go into a Google number on my phone. And if you want to call in right now, we're not going to keep Kim on here much longer. She's a busy lady. And if you do have some questions, if we can make this work, and if not, of course, folks, that's okay as well. We'll give it a couple minutes to see if we can anyone get a call in. Kim, there was something else I was going to ask you. I know you had invited me to come.
Were you going to ask me my biggest regret
Well, we'll get to that, but I wanted to ask you about this morgue that you visited with some college students a couple weeks back, and you invited me. And of course, me being a musician, I think I was busy being that weekend warrior. But can you elaborate a little bit further? You told me that place is extremely active. You don't have to give the exact location, but as far as your experience there, would you like to share with us what's going on in that place, or what you perceive to be going on?
Sure. I've done a lot of funeral homes before, but this time we actually went to the cadaver room in a hospital. They had 60 bodies in their cadaver room. So I have done the cadaver room probably 4 times already, and it is extremely active. They turn on and off the TVs. They interact with everybody I bring in there. They turn on and off the in-surgery signs, and it is ridiculous. It's ridiculous.
Well, I regret not getting to go, because I think you texted me a couple days later and said you just had an amazing night there. So maybe that's a place in the very near future that you and I can visit, and you can let me.
I mean, how many people have been in the cadaver room?
Well, I have never been in a cadaver room, so on my end, that would be a first for me. That's for sure, certainly.
And we show total respect to the body.
Of course.
I hope people don't think we don't.
Of course. So you mentioned, okay, I think we got our first call here, Kim, and this is coming in from Lafayette, Indiana. If you can hold on. Hello, it's the Whispers Estate. Can I help you?
Hey, this is Thomas. I do have a question for you guys and her.
Okay, Thomas, let me turn you up just a little bit here. I think I got you about as loud as I can. Can you get a little closer to your phone, please?
Yeah, can you hear me?
I can hear you. Kim, can you hear Thomas okay?
Yeah.
Okay, Thomas, please feel free to go ahead with your question.
I was wondering, each of your guys' your scariest moments at the estate.
Our scariest moments at the Whispers Estate?
Yeah.
Okay, Kim, since you're our guest tonight, we'll let you go ahead if you want to share what you think was probably the thing that caught you most off guard.
I believe, other than the pew, is 2 things. I'm going to give you 2. Richard and I were sitting in the closet. What closet is that upstairs?
That's Virgil's closet.
Okay, Virgil's closet. And I will randomly ask questions that nobody asks, okay? We were doing the spirit box, and I said, I said to myself, I'm going to ask a random question that nobody's ever going to get, because I wanted to see if this was real.
Oh, yes.
I said, how's the weather? And on the spirit box, it comes back, weather. The ghost, it said it, weather.
Yeah, I remember that. And now, and to steal your thunder, pretty much every time when I try to use an Estes method or a spirit box, I always borrow that question from you. I hope you don't mind.
No, you're good. Because that is so random that how can you... It's just amazing. And then the others are shadows going by in the windows.
Okay, and Thomas, I'll take a turn. I've been to the house probably close to 700 times, so there's so many different things I've experienced that, wow. But I was in the house by myself one evening, and we actually had this on video on our website. I was just doing a quick walkthrough, and I had walked down the second floor across from Rachel's room to the bathroom that we call Mr. H's bathroom, and something slammed Rachel's door so hard the entire second floor just shook. And if you ever see the video, I sound a lot like Curly on the Three Stooges. A bunch
I
of
think I have seen that video.
Oh, you have seen the video?
Yeah.
Yeah, and on my end, I don't think there's anything close to that. I know Kim and I've been with other people that's had some pretty scary experiences in the servants' quarters. Definitely on the church pew seems to be a pretty active area, depending on who's in there with us. But being in the house by myself that night, I still, I'll be honest with you, I come in the house by myself quite a bit. I'm never really comfortable doing the walkthroughs now. I usually ask my friend Kim to do them with me, or Brad, or my son Garvin, who's ever with me. I'd rather have them do the walkthroughs together. I don't feign or profess to be the world's bravest investigator. I'd suggest Kim here on our phone with us is 10 times braver than I am. She's pretty fearless. I will say that about Kim. Brad here next to me is also a pretty fearless investigator. For some reason, even though I'm a psychologist, sometimes the old yellow kinds of come up the back of my back, and I just kind of chicken out. But I don't think there's anything that's been quite as scary for me as that. Brad,
Well, I had something unnerving. Remember the Esses method when it said I was going to die?
I remember that, yeah.
And then I said, that's not, well, I used some choice words. That's not funny. And then the person that was doing the Esses method said, yes, it is.
Yeah,
That was the worst.
yeah. This house doing the Esses method at Whispers is usually almost always.
It
an
was
experience.
messing with me bad.
Yeah. Hey, Thomas.
And I also want to tell Thomas, like, the scariest is when the scary becomes real.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Yes, we can hear you.
It's when it becomes real. I've been in Whispers Estate when things become real, and it's so real I about peed my pants.
Now, Thomas, I know you've been to the house before. Do you have a story about Whispers, or was it a slow night when you came? Did you experience something here that you thought, indeed, that's something that's probably definitely paranormal related?
Yeah, I've been there twice. The first time was kind of slow, like a little bit of activity, but not much. The second time, just back in July, though, when you brought that, like, haunted desk and mirror, I think it was, into the house,
Yes.
that night we heard a lot of stuff and felt a lot of stuff.
Well, that is just great. And Thomas, I do appreciate you visiting the house. I know I've met you a couple times now, and I know you and your group are extremely respectful to the house, and I think you guys are definitely doing this for all the right reasons. So hopefully, I think you and I have talked about the possibility about maybe you and a couple people in your team even doing a podcast with me. Am I correct?
Yeah, we talked about it. Like, I think you asked for me and Phoenix, the one who's a bit more spiritually sensitive to all this.
Yeah, both of you have some pretty powerful empath skills. I remember that the minute you walked in the house. I could sense it off you. But I do appreciate you calling in tonight, and I will be in touch because I have you on my list of people to speak with about the possibility of doing that. And if I'm not mistaken, you live in, is it Central Indiana? Is that where you're calling from?
It's a bit more up. It's in Lafayette.
Right, Lafayette. Okay, yeah. So, maybe there's a good chance that you and your Phoenix could come down and actually do a live podcast here with us, and then we could spend some time afterwards, maybe investigating together. Or if that doesn't fit into your schedule, certainly what we're doing with Kim, we could do one over the phone. But I do appreciate your support of the house, and just be patient as we get these going. I would really enjoy having you do a podcast with us.
Yeah, like, I know them and I are definitely down to if we ever can. It'd be great to come back.
Well, that's just wonderful. Thank you for the call, Thomas.
Thank you.
Okay, good night.
Okay, we have the number up on Facebook. If you need to see that, just go to our Facebook page and you will see the number up there if you need to see it again.
Yeah, Thomas and his group, we had just put, Kim, you haven't seen what was donated to the house back in early June. Got a call from a lady who had a chest of drawers and a mirror that had been in her family since 1858. And no one had had it in their house for like 30 years. They were all convinced it had something very interesting attached to it. So they donated it, and I went and got it and brought it up here. And the very first night we had it in the house, the group that visited, I didn't even say anything about the thing, but one of their people wouldn't even go in the red room where I have it located because they said it just feels too weird. I can't go in there. So it has seemed to add to the the overall ambience of the house. Several groups have experienced things with it. I know the group Sunday night had a great experience. They were doing some stuff by it. And Lisa Potts. We got another call here. Okay. Hello, is this Lisa?
It is.
Hey, Lisa, it's so good to hear from you, my friend.
Hi, how are you?
We are doing wonderful. Just great to hear from you. I miss you. I can't wait for you to come back to the house. And I got my good friend Kim Kinser here doing a podcast with us. And I know Kim, I know I've talked to you about Kim before, how she's just such a fun, effective person to investigate with, very business-minded, but still has lots of fun and likes to laugh. Kim, you're still on here with us, aren't you, sweetheart?
Yeah.
Okay.
So I have a question for Kim.
Okay, go ahead, Lisa.
So she's obviously been to a lot of locations. So I want to know if she had the choice to only go to one more location or repeat that location, what would it be?
Ooh. So the question is, which location would I most want to go back to? Or is there a location I haven't been to that I want to go?
I think she said if you only had a chance to go back to one more location, what would that location be?
The Sally House. Because I feel like we didn't have enough time in the Sally House, and I would really like to spend the entire night there.
Right, and I know we were only there for about 3 hours, and it just seemed to start occurring. The house seemed to start waking up on us. But in all fairness to your sister Angie, she had never done anything like this before. Am I correct?
Right. She was new to ghost hunting.
And the Sally House definitely affected her. You could see it in her face. The minute we walked in, it had a very stale smell. I think no one had been in it a few days. And remember, I had to crank up the heat. It was cold, and the heat kicked on. There was that natural gas smell you get when you cook up a furnace that's old and kind of dilapidated. So the initial impression of the house was just pretty off the hook. And then remember, people pulled up out front, were banging on the door, and
right.
That happened pretty early on. And we went in the basement and heard growling, and it was just. I have to agree with you. Of all the places I've been, that's one place that I would really like to go back to, and at least, at the very least, spend 6 or 7 hours there, because I think we were only there for about 2.5 hours, if I'm not mistaken.
I was so scared in that basement, my knees were dropping together. I was so scared. And like, Richard, as you said, is that your number one place that you would really like to go back to because we didn't have enough time?
Yeah, of all the places we've been, we normally get 6 to 8 hours, and that was the one place that when we left. But I understand Angie's where she was at, and my heart went out to her because she was visibly affected by it. So once again, I was okay with leaving. Your sister's a sweet girl and all that good stuff. But
do you want to tell people what you did at the basement since we're on the subject?
You mean what I did that I shouldn't have done?
Yeah.
Well,
why don't you tell them?
And I know they still have that sign up, but I'm not sure where that sign's up. But it says "Do not enter," and I went down.
The main reason we went to the Sally House was to go to the basement.
And when I saw the sign, I said, "Well, you girls stay up here. I'm going to go down here and make sure there's not any danger in the steps." But the steps are stone steps, if I remember right. They're really solid. And I know we broke some rules, and if anyone from the Sally House is listening, I apologize. But once again, I don't know, Pandora's box, that instinct kicked in, and I went down and I said, girls, come on down. And maybe we'd have been better off. Maybe we'd been better off if we didn't bring Angie down there, because that basement, it was off the hook. You got to admit, there was something down there that did not want us down there. And I don't go by feeling much. I don't have too much of that ability. But Lisa, have you been to the Sally House?
I have not.
Okay, and I know you and we went to the big sanitarium hospital out east in West Virginia. What was the name of the St. Albans?
St. Albans.
Yeah,
yes, St. Albans.
Yeah. Lisa and I and her son and a couple of friends went there, and her one friend, something shoved her so violently. I think she quit doing it for a while, didn't she? She had such
She did.
Yeah, it scared her to that point. She just had to check out and quit doing it. I know the first night we went, it was relatively quiet, but if I'm not mistaken, my memory serves me right, we went a second night, and we just had an incredible night, all kinds of noises. That we would get to a floor and kind of settle down and just get quiet and try to start, seeing what we could hear. And it was like something was following us the entire night. We would sit down and we'd hear footsteps coming up the stairs behind us, and I'd run over there with my flashlight. There was no one there. And do you remember that, Lisa, how intense that was?
Yeah, it was like we were being followed all night.
It was really strange. That was really a neat place to go. And Kim, I will tell you that Lisa here, of all my guests, I have never had anyone since I've owned the house that had such a connection in Big Black's room. There is something about that room and the supposed shadow figure that we have in there that everybody calls Big Black. Lisa's got pictures of it on the front porch of the house. And Lisa, can you explain your experiences with Big Black? Because for whatever reason, whatever that is, it's certainly it is affiliated with you now. I can't even think about Big Black if you don't come to my immediate thoughts.
The first thing that ever happened was in the doctor's office. It was the first night we were there. And we were in the doctor's room, and we're coming out of the bathroom, and that door just slammed. Like, it slammed so hard the wall shook.
Wow.
And then I don't know what happened. I thought it was funny. My friend was terrified, and I laughed because she was terrified. And I don't know what happened, but at that point, I can go in that doctor's office, and I get crazy activity.
Yeah, probably more than anyone I know that visits the house, she gets activity back there, significant activity. But one thing I've been thinking for a long time, I have to get you two ladies together, Lisa and Kim. That would be a power duo. You two together would just be awesome.
Did Lisa do Octagon with you?
No, that was that was Shannon and Christy, some friends of mine.
And
not the Octagon in Kentucky. This is the Octagon in it's North Carolina, right?
Virginia,
that's right. Yeah. We oh my goodness, I forgot all about that place. See, you have to write them all down, or you start to forget about them. But we went in the basement of that place, and they abandoned me. Those two girls did. We heard something that they took off, and I was doing the S's with them. I look up, and there's no one in that basement but me, and I had to go chasing them pretty quickly. They heard something that neither one of them would really talk about it very much afterwards. So there's something happened down in that basement that was definitely, it was a profound moment for them, that's for sure. Lisa, when are you coming back to Whispers Estate, or do we have a date for you?
I don't have a date yet, but I'm hoping really soon.
Well, here's what I know you're right up there with Kim as someone I really want to do a podcast, so we have to get you down here, and you can come as my guest, and Brad and I will do a podcast together live, and then afterwards we'll definitely do some investigating together, because I miss you, and you're one of my friends, and you've been such a great supporter of the house, and I do appreciate you, okay?
Absolutely, I love that place.
We can get together in November.
We do have a couple nights open in November, believe that. So maybe that's something that if you girls could.
I'm gonna have to do, yeah.
Well, let's.
I know we're going to the Bill Manor on November 8th.
Okay.
Oh my gosh, we just went to the Bill Manor.
Okay.
That'd be interesting.
Didn't we, Richard?
Yeah, that was up in northern Ohio. That's just an amazing place, very historic. we had a slower night, but we did have a few things that, I know Kim and I looked at each other and said, well, okay, that was weird. But you know what, like all these places, some nights are more active than others. But if you want someone who actually runs a property, that gentleman that runs that property is as nice as anyone you're ever going to deal with. And he gives a great tour of the house. He gives you great history. And I highly recommend, if you get a chance to go to Bill Manor, that's a place you put.
When is she going, Richard?
Lisa, when do you have that plan?
We're going there on November 8th.
Okay.
Okay. I think
it's not too far from us.
Yeah, I think November 8th, believe it or not, I'm a musician, and some of the musicians in my band, we have that. Is it the 8th, Brad, or the 15th?
Which one? 8th.
8th, yeah. We're going to actually bring some guitars and some musical instruments and do a jam session in the parlor just to see if we can stir some stuff up with some old-timey music.
Oh, wow.
But I tell you what we'll do, Lisa. I'll reach out to you and I'll see what the possibility is of getting you and Kim together, if we can possibly do that. If not before the end of the year, certainly in 2025. Okay.
Okay.
Kim, I'm sorry, Lisa. Thank you for your call. Okay.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Okay. Goodbye.
Bye.
Bye. I definitely want to get together with her.
Yeah, Lisa is a great lady and just so much fun. And her son is a really good investigator too. He is fearless and has he's got a good collection of equipment. But it's another thing, Kim, that we didn't even elaborate on. But you have some of the neatest equipment of anyone I've ever been associated with in doing this.
That Boo Bear. I gotta have one.
Yeah.
I know you have spent thousands and thousands of dollars.
Thousands.
The equipment you have, I will say it's second to none. And, we go to these places and sometimes we don't have time to use it all. But I would say your equipment collection is probably the best and most elaborate I've ever been around.
And I think I touched on that in the beginning. If you have time to ghost hunt, that is when you do it. When I was younger, I didn't have time, nor did I have the money to obtain all of the equipment. So once I had the time and the money, that's when I felt like I was on my journey to experience what I had been waiting to experience for 30 years. So that's why when I do it, I go full out. I bought every single piece of equipment. I don't care how much it is. I buy it. 5,000, fine. Bought.
Can you share with that grid light you had on the stairs there at McIntyre Villa, and something was just walking towards us? I've even had a couple dreams about that evening. What piece of equipment is that? Remember, if you break the field.
I think it's the GS2.
Yeah, that's it. That is just an amazing piece of equipment. And I know you paid a good sum of money for that. But if I think of all the equipment you have, that has to be one of the pieces that I don't see many people carry around. That seems to be one of the more reliable pieces people can use. We're getting to the point where I feel guilty keeping Kim. I told her I don't have her on the phone about 30 minutes.
Oh, you're good. I love talking ghost hunting.
So maybe we can get one more call if someone else would like to call. I think Brad put the phone number.
Yeah, I put another phone number up on Facebook if you want to try it. It's going to go through the computer, and then that way you'll be able to hear the podcast a little bit better.
Is it the same phone number?
And no, it's different, but it's up on Facebook.
Do you have the phone number
Yeah.
written down? You might want to say it to people.
Yeah, I'll say it to you. All right, so
Our new phone number, like I said, where there's a lot of a learning curve here as we start doing this again.
812-727-8206. That's 812-727-8206. Give that a shot. If you didn't hear it, Facebook, I posted on the website or the Facebook page. It's the second number down. I'd really
Richard.
Yes.
Oh, sorry.
Oh,
Go
you're
ahead.
fine. I just wanted somebody to try it just so we can get our tech back up and make these more professional. I really want to test. This is a good test night.
Yes,
Can you
Kim.
ghost hunt without equipment? For listeners,
Yes.
for listeners out there.
Yeah, I'm not an equipment person. I take one of Brad's REM pods, a mag light, a couple of flashlights, a recorder. Oh, by the way, Kim, I found my recorder that you and I use to listen so we can hear everything. Remember, I thought I lost it.
Yeah,
I found it tonight.
thank
It
goodness.
was in my my file cabinet here that we use for the podcast. So
I've been praying about it for 4 years.
well, I think for the last 3 or 4 times we went places, we're each sharing yours, and we each have one of them in our ear. But now we can indeed record together and listen at the same time here that Zoom, because that thing does make things super sensitive. But yeah, I don't take a lot of equipment. I do have an SLS camera that Steve Horn, my good friend Steve Horn, who's moved out west. He's left the Great White North, and him and his wife Kim, I think they're living out in New Mexico or Arizona, somewhere like that. I think they love the desert, and they were just here.
I bought 3 SLSs from
Yeah,
him.
well, you're the one that got me in touch with Steve. You're the one that gave me his number, and Steve makes an amazing. He's got a new item, and I think I posted it on my Facebook. It is one of the neatest. It's in the concept of a REM pod, but it's so much more than a REM pod. And he's designed this thing, and I have got to get one of those from him. He is just.
What is it?
I'll send you a picture of it. It's just one of the most amazing pieces of equipment, and he's got a program where it will play different kinds of music, and his was playing like scary gothic music when it's set off instead of just a buzzing. It plays music, and it's just it's really, Steve is a very creative guy. I need to get him and Brad here together because they're pretty similar.
Oh, yeah.
Pretty similar minds the way they see things, but. Kim and Steve were here just, it's probably been about 6-7 weeks ago, and I spent some time here with them, and they stayed after I left. They always bring fun to the house and usually have good experiences, and I know you're the one that gave me Steve's number because he made you an SLS, and then I contacted him, and remember, he sent me one that was the approved version of yours, and then I think you went back and got the improved version of mine, if I'm not mistaken. So.
I bought 3 of them from him.
Yeah. So if you are looking for an SLS camera and other equipment, just go to Horn Paranormal. You can find Steve, and him and Kim are just amazing people that travel all over the country. I'm envious of them. I think they're both retired, and they're young, and they're already retired. So I'm quite envious that both of them are able to travel and do so much. See the country at the same time, get to experience all these places that clearly have some type of activity occurring in them pretty regularly. But to go back to your question, no, other than when I go with you, if I'm doing something else, someone else, I usually travel pretty small. It reminds me of the story when we were in Salem, Massachusetts, and I bought the broom, and we had to get on the airplane to jet with it, and you said, let me have that thing, and you folded it up, just walked on that airplane like you owned it. No one said a word to you. So I think, well, I knew if I'd have tried to get on the plane holding that broom, they'd have probably stopped me at the gate. You just walked right in like you owned the place. And I remember that broom is sitting here on the wall at Whispers Estate. And, I do have very fond memories of our trip out east. That's something else that we'll try to maybe do again sometime in the future.
Then I should throw a question to you.
Yes.
What is your favorite piece of equipment?
I'm pretty simple when it comes to investigating. I think one of the pieces of equipment that seems the hardest to blow
The
up.
flashlight.
The flashlights are very neat, especially if you use a blue one and a red one, and you say turn the red one on for yes and the blue one on for no, and it starts responding accordingly. But at the end of it all, if I just had my pick of things to use, I'd probably just use Brad's and REM pod. When you set one of those things up in the hallway or wherever you are, and it just starts going off, and there's really no way anything would set it off other than something has some type of electromagnetic energy. I think that's just one of those things. When the REM pod starts going off, you can usually expect something to occur. And that's just from the more simple equipment. Some of the stuff you have, like I said, that thing we use at the McIntyre Villa, to this day, that is a whole nother level of investigating that a lot of people if they had the money, that's really a piece of equipment it'd be nice to have in your arsenal. I know I'm still thinking about buying myself a Christmas present, one of the Panasonic DR60s, but I'm seeing those things go for $2,500 on eBay, $3,000 on eBay. So it's a situation that, do I really want to go spend $3,000 on a hand recorder? But then when you get with my friends up there from Michigan, those girls that have one, and Stephanie O'Reilly has one. I think Stephanie here at Whispers, I think she got 17 significant EVPs here on the second floor in about,
heard her.
Yeah,
They're good.
in about an hour. And they just seem to change the game. And I know if you have one, you know what I'm talking about. That there's something about that piece of equipment that you pick up things that nothing else will. So I'm tempted just to, the frugal side of me, the side of me that, was raised to value a dollar. It's hard, but boy, I probably won't rest until at some point I go and get one. And if I'm not mistaken, didn't you get one about a year ago or 8 months ago or something?
Yeah, I got a refurbished one.
Yeah, you got a refurbished one, right? So I knew you had.
But I don't have the time like you. Like if I record, then I got to spend 5, 10 hours, 10 days going through all of the recording.
And that is probably the dilemma that all people who do this, going over your evidence, is whether it's video or audio. It's mind-numbing because there's so many times that you just listen for hours and you get nothing, and then all of a sudden, boom, you got something that's so profound that it just raises the hair on the back of your neck, if you will. So, I know that's just one of the things that you have to. In a perfect world, you have other people that can help you, but most of us just don't have those resources. We don't have our own television show or our own radio show or our own podcast that's listened to by millions of people. So, we pretty much are self-service when it comes to doing all these things. So whether it's traveling and planning our travel, air tickets, or who's driving where, who's driving here, do we need to get motels, all those things. So once again, it's I'm always I'm very impressed by the vast majority of people I see that come to Whispers Estate, their commitment to this and their sincerity, that they literally want to find evidence and share it with everyone else, things that they can find. It's probably the most fun I've had doing this is since I bought the house, just because I meet such a wide range of really interesting people, and probably 99% of our guests come to the house and they're respectful to this old house, and they're here for the right reasons. You'll get one in 100 that you're going, my goodness, why are these people doing this? But the vast majority of people who visit us are so respectful, and it's really a pleasure to meet so many people. I've literally met thousands of people since I bought the house, and that's probably what I've enjoyed most about the house.
And I think a lot of people love to live and experience it in the moment, because when you're in the house, that is what it's all about, right? Is experiencing it raw. Everything is just raw in that moment.
Yeah, and I don't know. Like I said, I'm obviously biased towards the home because, at this point I'm the caretaker. I tell people I don't really own it. It's more or less a situation where I'm the caretaker. So I'm definitely biased towards the house on my end. It's, I'm here so much, and, I've had so many neat experiences in the house, but there's so many other wonderful places to visit. Like you said, some of the places we've been together, when we went last spring to the Monroe house, that was just such a great experience because,
oh my God,
I'd been there 2 or 3 times and had some stuff happen, but I tell you, when that, whatever was, it wasn't knocking, it was banging on that wall. That whole wall was shaking.
Yeah.
And I immediately ran in there. I said, well, I've got to see if someone's in the house. I was thinking, someone's got in this house, and I'm going to have to confront them or something, or let you do it, and maybe I just run out the front door, because I can run pretty fast when I have to.
Yeah. And then my rope light went off like the 4th of July.
Well, it was incessant. It never would stop. I mean, that's another really neat piece of equipment you have. I've seen a few of those, but you have one of the biggest ones I've seen, and we had that thing wrapped around that entire room, and it was almost nonstop when we went in that back room. That the first couple hours we were there, it was okay. We heard little things, but you got to admit, around midnight, 11:30, 12, whenever it was, when we went back there, that place, it erupted. And I've talked to so many people that have experienced the same thing at that house. And that's like I was saying, there's just so many great places to visit that, even though I am biased towards the home that I currently own, it doesn't mean these other places just aren't amazing experiences. And if this is something that interests you, I mean, I'd recommend that you try to visit as many places as you can, because they're just here in the Midwest alone, there's dozens of great locations that you can experience, phenomenal paranormal events, things that just shake you in your shoes, to your core. You're going, my goodness, what just happened? Can I begin to even explain that? So I guess that's, I teach a parapsychology class, a couple of them, and these are college students, and, they'll ask me, they'll say, so what's it like to go ghost chasing? I said, well, often it's just 90% of the time just sitting around in the dark somewhere in a building or a house or, a graveyard. Nothing happens, but it's that 10% that just seems to hook you and keep you coming back for more and spending thousands and thousands of dollars just to do it, seriously. So on my end,
But-
I guess that's where I'm at.
But I'd like to know from you and Brad, though, too. Out of all the places I've been, I've only had bad luck maybe 1% of the time, to where I'm like, that was a waste. 99% of the time, I'm going to see something. Am I wrong? Like, what percent are you guys at?
Well, I wouldn't say I had that kind of success. I do know when I'm with you, I will say that. I know when we went to the Pierce house there. What was that? The Pierce. What's the first? The castle there in Massachusetts. It looks like a castle.
The K. Pierce house.
Yeah, the K. Pierce house. A great location. We did, unfortunately, because of all the other things going on, we didn't get a good enough shot at that. But then we went to the Gardner house there, and I think both of those locations were somewhat slow. They weren't, we didn't get knocked off our shoes, out of our shoes.
Right, but we weren't investigating it. We were with people.
Yeah, we were with people's guests,
Yeah.
so that we didn't get to like hunker down and do our thing. So I would, both those locations. Well, I will take that back. In the Pierce house, something threw a rock and hit you. Remember, you got hit by a rock.
Oh,
in
yeah,
that
downstairs.
basement. Yeah.
Yeah.
That a rock hit you. I remember that. So that place, chalk that up. We were only two in that dark old basement. Now this house is 200 years old, I believe it was built in 1825. If I'm not mistaken. So going on 200 years old. So yeah, we had something happen there. Like you said, as people's guests, we were kind of the mercy of the other
Right.
people were there. But and the Gardner.
So you think your batting average is what? Pretty 50-50 for you?
I was with you. It's much higher. It's, like I said, we've only been to a couple places. We didn't experience what I call significant activity. I've been with other groups. Where it's not. I've even been here to the Whispers Estate, investigated with groups. It's been somewhat slow. Not much happened. But once again, I tell people that. Doing this, it's not like going to the circus that the clowns are going to come out every time you pay your fee to get into the place. There are just slow nights, I think, everywhere. But I do think there is something to the belief that certain people are just going to stir it up more, be batteries, or experience more. And I do think you're one of those people. For whatever reason, you seem to attract some type of energy when you go into these places. It seems to happen pretty consistently to you. I've been with some other people. I feel that same way. Brad's wife, Michelle, I think she might fall into that
Yeah, I
category
love
as well.
Michelle.
Yeah, I think she might fall into that category. And there's a handful. My house manager, Sandra. Sandra seems to stir things up when she gets going. It's pretty hard to get her involved, especially here at Whispers, because she's been involved with the house for 13 years now, and she's seen it all and done it all. But once again, I think sometimes it might just have something to do with the people you're with and the chemistry of the people you're with. It's the more I do it, sometimes I feel like the less I know on a personal note on that thing.
Right. But I think the only thing that you and I have not experienced is seeing the apparition.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Brad, have you?
Nope.
Yeah, I have never seen an apparition. I've seen shadow people.
We saw one thing in the when we were sitting on the couch in the in front of Dr. John's examination.
Yeah, we saw a shadow.
We saw something poke its head around. It looked like a bald man.
Yeah, we saw something. It was definitely a shadow. We couldn't make it out as an actual apparition, but it was definitely something that appeared to stick its head around the corner of the door and kind of look at us for 3 or 4 seconds. And when he and I saw it together, we were in there for about 4 or 5 other people. We both saw it at the same time. Neither one of us said anything till afterwards. So I know that we both, saw the same thing. So, I've been to Waverly a number of times and saw some pretty interesting shadow movement there as well. But as far as just seeing like Rachel in this house, I probably several dozen people since I bought the house have claimed to see her. We even got a video that a group took. It's on our website where it clearly looks like a little girl spinning around circles in front of Gary's closet. I mean, it's just some of the best video footage I've seen. So I've had several dozen people see the little girl in this house and the doctor and other things in the house. On my end, it's more just noises and bangs and voices and those types of things and scratches and growls. But that's enough for me at some point just to almost make me want to take a break and go outside and smoke a cigarette. And I don't smoke cigarettes. So. Well, Kim, listen, I clearly don't want to keep you on the phone any longer. For some reason, our phones went dead. I don't know if we've messed something up technically.
Okay.
I know Brad switched numbers on us, and I don't know if because he
Well, I
did
didn't
that.
switch numbers. I added one that's actually on the computer itself, and it might hook up to the roads a little bit better.
Okay. Well,
okay.
Well, Kim, I do appreciate you so much. You're such a good friend, and your husband Tom is such a neat guy. I know he and I, every time we talk, we end up talking about the American Civil War, and he is such an he's such an authority on the subject, and he's just this historian himself. So me being somewhat of a historian, I know he and I have had some really good conversations talking about the American Civil War and some other things in that sense. But on your end, I've always enjoyed you so much. You make me laugh, and you kind of challenge me sometimes when it comes to doing this. So I just want you to know how much I appreciate you, and I certainly appreciate you taking the last hour of your time. I know you're an early to bed and early to rise kind of person. And
we know that you're a late to bed, late to rise.
Well, I'm a late to bed, early to rise. I actually.
True. You only sleep 2 hours.
Well, about 4 on average during the school week. I usually fall asleep about 2 o'clock and wake up about 5:30 or 6 every morning. But
Exactly.
I'm going strong. So until that starts affecting me cognitively, I'm not going to worry about it too much. But I know I want to see you. I'm hoping you can take me over there to the morgue. I'd definitely like to see that, sooner than later.
Yeah.
And then, you always have a free pass to come here to Whispers. I really want to get you and Lisa Potts together. I think you're two ladies that would be great to get you together and let you investigate together. So don't be a stranger. Reach out to me. You got my number, and I know you got Brad's number. And I just want to
take me out of spam, please.
Yes, I will. My bad. My bad.
I want to thank you so much. Okay.
All right. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
We'll talk to you. Goodbye.
Bye-bye.
Did you hang out?
Sure.
Okay, anyone that's still around, I was telling people it only take about 30 or 35 minutes, but we had a couple of calls, and Kim was in such a talkative mood tonight. She seemed to keep wanting to go, so I'm never going to resist the opportunity to get her to share her expertise and her findings and her experiences for sure. But we are going to do our best, Brad. We're going to do our best to try to do minimum of one a month now.
Yeah, yep.
So
Do sometime.
Brad, I think
I don't know what day it will be, but
Brad is he's such a bright guy in many ways, but with his technical skills, once he does something 2 or 3 times, it's just second nature to him. And we spent about the last 3 hours before we started tonight just doing our best to remember how to do this.
well, it's not so much remembering, it's we left half the equipment at home and we had to rig everything. So
Yeah, I forgot some stuff. I'll take blame for most of that, but we weren't 100% sure we were going to do one of these tonight. So Brad and I are both on fall breaks. So for those of you that stuck around and listened, if you didn't get a chance, if you want to tell some friends, I think this is going to be posted on YouTube. Am I
yeah,
right?
it should stay on YouTube, and then it should be a link on our website eventually.
Right. If you want to hear Kim and Lisa and Thomas, I think we had a couple phone calls. If you want to hear these people, and we will do our best to get people more of a heads up in the future, maybe 3 or 4 or 5 days before we do one of these. And the goal is to get as many people that I've come into contact with and respect so much. I got a couple people, a couple authors that said they'd be glad to do phone podcasts with us, and of course Lisa I mentioned, and so many different guests that have come in that I would really. And I talked to Thomas earlier. I know Thomas and his group had a great night. So the goal, of course, would be get as many people to do these podcasts. So you don't have to listen to me and Brad, or Brad and I do all the talking. The more people that we can have bring their experiences and expertise to this, I think the more interesting it'd be for all. So for everyone who tuned in, thanks. Remember, if you want to come visit the Whispers Estate, if you've never been here, our website is www.whispersestate.com, just one word, whispersestate.com. And if you're on your phone, or what do you call those 3 little lines at the top of the phone that you click on to drag down?
Not sure.
You had a name for them a while back.
Well, the hamburger is the one with the sets of 3.
Yeah. So if you click on that, it's up in the left-hand side of your phone screen. It will give you a drag down, and about halfway down it says reservations. It will take you to a Sunday through Thursday calendar and a Friday and Saturday calendar. And we do have 2025 dates available now if you want to come next year. And we do have a handful of the dates still open in 2024. Not many, but a handful. If you want to come on the weekend, you click on the Friday and Saturday calendar. You just enter your personal information. It gives you an email confirmation. You go right on the calendar, and it's pretty easy. Once you do it once or twice, it becomes real easy. There'll be more information on our website and our Facebook about the Doctor's Quarantine Challenge. That's something we've been talking about doing for over a year now, but I think we've got most of the details ironed out. If it is going to be in December, my friend Kim Reed, I think her brother owns a big RV. We might just park that thing out front and stay warm and set up a few computer monitors and just monitor the situation from out front. But if not, we'll go in that garage and get a couple of space heaters, and I'll get 3 or 4 people to help us, and we'll just do it in shifts to watch the person as they're in the house. Never hesitate to reach out to us here at Whispers Estate. And once again, like I said earlier, I do appreciate everyone for tuning in tonight, okay? And see you hopefully within a month from now, okay?
Thank you for tuning in. We hope you've enjoyed tonight's adventure. For more information, please visit our website at www.whispersestate.com.